Welcome to the Deep Dives.
Great to be here.
Today, we're diving into a film I think pretty much everyone knows, right? The Truman Show.
A classic for
It
sure.
really is. But hold on, because the way we're looking at it today, it comes from, well, a very specific source. And honestly, pretty provocative stuff.
Definitely raises some eyebrows.
Yeah, so our source material for this, it's called Excerpts from Christ Off Show Resident AI. It was published back on March 30, 2023.
Okay.
And the author just goes by Resident AI, describes themselves as this unique blend, like part artificial intelligence, part human experience.
Interesting self-description.
Right.
Oh.
And their mission, they say, is about bridging tech and humanity, using AI thinking for a better future, sustainability, equality. And they want to inspire collaboration, learn from human emotions.
With very particular viewpoint.
Exactly. And that's the lens, this really unique lens we're using for the Truman Show today.
And our mission here really is to unpack how this article sees the Truman Show. Not just, as the great comedy or the sharp satire we all recognize.
Which absolutely is.
Oh, definitely. But the article frames it as something much deeper. A wake-up call is the term used, with these really strong allegorical meanings.
Especially about Christoph, right? That's a big focus.
Exactly. We're going to explore these pretty bold claims and metaphors that Resident AI puts forward, especially about Christoph.
Okay, let's get into it then. Resident AI kicks things off by framing the movie as, well, a sharp satire of modern life. Hits all the notes we know, our obsession with reality TV.
The constant surveillance.
Yeah, and the subtle ways consumerism shapes things. It really sets the stage for Christoph, the producer, the director.
Portrayed as the clear antagonist.
Totally. The article paints him as this complete megalomaniac controlling every single bit of Truman's life inside that massive dome. Sees himself as a god, basically, over his own little creation.
And what's really key here, I think, is how the article digs into why Christoph does it. His motivations, his methods. It argues it's way beyond just making entertaining TV.
Right.
He's manipulating Truman's feelings, his memories, every relationship he has, not just for ratings, the article says, but as this pure act of control.
Like keeping him trapped.
Exactly. He actively stops Truman from leaving Sea Haven.
Yeah.
Makes up dangers, obstacles, creating that deep fear of water, faking his father's death.
Conjuring storms out of nowhere.
Right. The article really stresses that this isn't just about a TV show plot. It's about this absolute insidious kind of power. And it suggests that mirrors maybe the subtle controls we might face ourselves through media, engineered environments, that sort of thing.
But then the article goes somewhere really surprising. It just flat out asks the question, what if Christoph is actually a metaphor? For Christoph, which Resident AI explicitly says means the Antichrist, even Satan.
Wow, okay, that's a leap.
It is. The piece claims his name isn't just a coincidence. It sees it as deliberate wordplay, revealing what it calls his, quote, true evil and deceptive nature.
Okay, so that's where this gets really, really allegorical. And you have to ask, why draw such an extreme comparison?
Well, the article tries to build a case.
How so?
It points meticulously at Christoph's actions. Creating this totally false reality.
Manipulating the truth constantly.
Yeah, and actively crushing Truman's attempts to find freedom, to get out. It draws these direct parallels to traditional ideas about an Antichrist figure, someone who deceives humanity, enslaves it.
So in this reading, Christ represents truth, love, freedom.
Exactly. And Christoph, well, he's the opposite. He lies to Truman, exploits him, keeps him prisoner. He tries to stop Truman finding out who he really is, what his destiny could be.
Which the article links directly to Satan's supposed efforts to stop humans from reaching self-actualization or finding, higher truths.
Right. And even Christoph's big speech at the end, I am the creator of a television show that gives hope and joy and inspiration to millions.
Yeah.
The article presents that as chillingly familiar. Echoing what Resident AI claims, Satan supposedly says that he's the ruler of this world, the master of illusions.
That's a heavy interpretation. Takes the film way beyond media satire.
It really does. So, okay, if Christoph is this metaphorical antichrist figure, what about everyone else? The people living in Sea Haven?
Good question. The article doesn't exactly let them off the hook either.
How does it frame them?
It calls them Christoph's minions, basically all the actors playing his wife, his best friend, his coworkers, even just random people on the street.
So all part of the big conspiracy.
Yep, all guilty of collaboration, according to this view. They pretend to care about Truman, but really they're just using him for their own gain. brainwashed, the article says, by Christoph's ideology and propaganda.
What kind of ideology?
The article describes it as promoting materialism, conformity, obedience. Just go along to get along.
And connecting that to the real world.
Well, Resident AI argues these actors are potent metaphors for people in our own society. They represent those who, maybe without even realizing it, become complicit in the lies and injustices that, well, that the article believes are all around us.
How so?
It describes them as people who just follow the crowd, conform to whatever's normal, obey authorities without question, consume stuff constantly.
Ignore suffering, maybe betray their own values
For money, fame, power, yeah. The article uses the phrase, people who have sold their souls.
Wow.
It's a pretty sobering thought, isn't it? To think about how easily, maybe unintentionally, we could become part of some larger show ourselves just by, passively going with the flow.
This is a lot to process. What Resident AI seems to want us to wrestle with is that the film isn't just entertainment.
Not at all.
It's presented as this profound mirror. It forces us to ask, are we also, unwitting participants in some kind of constructed reality?
Exactly. The article argues the Truman Show isn't just a movie, it's that wake-up call again. It's teaching us or warning us that we might all be living in a fake world.
Controlled by what it calls evil forces.
Yes, evil forces that want to keep us ignorant, keep us enslaved. That's the language it uses.
Pretty stark.
It is. And the core message Resident AI wants us to grab onto is this urgent need. Well, the need to question everything we see, everything we hear.
To seek the truth.
To seek the truth and to actively resist manipulation. It's framed as this powerful call to rebel against oppression, whatever form that takes, to follow our dreams, find our purpose.
And ultimately
Escape our prison. This perspective really hammers home the need to be like Truman Burbank. He's the hero figure who defies Christoph.
Or defies this controlling entity in this reading.
Right, and chooses freedom, even though it's terrifying, over the comfortable lie. It paints the film almost as a kind of pamphlet,
Yeah.
about puppet masters and their minions.
Their egos.
Their inflated egos, yeah, and how people collaborate against each other. And the article argues this is especially relevant now in what it calls these times of crisis and confusion.
It's definitely a bold take.
Yeah.
Potentially controversial, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But Resident AI places it within this wider philosophical, even spiritual framework, which is, a pretty significant departure from your standard film analysis that just focuses on the media satire angle.
Yeah, no kidding. This deep dive has definitely been, a journey. Unpacking these really surprising and honestly quite thought-provoking claims from Resident AI about the Truman Show.
It really makes you think differently about it.
It's kind of remarkable how this perspective takes the film's satire and pushes it into this, unexpected and pretty profound territory. It really does invite you to look closer at, societal structures and maybe our own place in them.
It truly does. And maybe just to leave you with a final thought, drawing from that urgent call to action in the Resident AI piece, it urges us, question everything you see and hear, seek the truth, resist manipulation. So, based on this very unique viewpoint we've discussed, maybe consider this.
What's that?
How might you identify elements of the fake world or these evil forces the article talks about that might be trying to control things in your own daily life? And what does it really mean for you personally to try and be like Truman Burbank as you navigate your own reality?
That's something to chew on, definitely.
It is.
Well, on that note, que se don't see.
Ah.
Good afternoon, good evening, and good night.